Welcome to Entrepreneurship and Licensure, a Cannabis Guide. Today we have a dynamic panel of boss women who we've covered on our site, EstroHaze, who have kind of agreed to come here and give you guys the nitty gritty, you know what I'm saying, the real deal about the challenges and triumphs that they're experiencing in this world of cannabis. My name is Kaylee Wilder. I am the CEO of EstroHaze. We are a digital media company all about informing and providing resources to multicultural communities and women. So welcome. I'm glad to see y'all here. So I was going to play some Beyonce to come out to, but it just didn't really happen that way. So we're just going to dive into the magic right now, okay? So to kick it off, I'd like each of these women to introduce themselves and the company that they represent.
My name is Whitney Beatty. I am founder and CEO of Apothecarry Brand. Apothecarry is a sleek and sexy storage and humidity solution for cannabis connoisseurs. We make locking humidity controlled systems used to keep cannabis safe and humidified in your home.
Hi everybody, my name is Hope Wiseman. I am the founder and COO of Marion, Maine, a medical cannabis dispensary in Maryland. We'll talk more about how I got that license and that process during the panel.
Hey everyone, my name is Stein. I'm CEO of LL Products, which is also known as Licensure, California. It's a manufacturing and distribution company. Also CEO of Bay Area Retail Management, which is a holding company that basically holds our San Francisco retail storefront projects, and also the co-founder and executive director of Supernova Women. And we're a group of women of color that works to empower people of color to become self-sufficient shareholders in the cannabis industry.
Awesome. So just to give you guys a heads up, this is a guide. We're going to provide 5 steps that we feel are essential for people who are interested in getting into this industry. Now, after you leave this session, it's your decision if you're not in the industry, how you want to, participate in the industry. But it was really important for us to also show the waves. It's not, we get a lot of people that want to jump into the industry because they see a money-making opportunity, they see a new industry, they see innovation, and it's all of those things. However, there are challenges that come with this industry, so we just want to lay it all out on the table so you guys know, okay? So, step one is get clear. How do you want to participate in the industry? Do you want to have a business? Do you want to just come from the career side? So this is the question I'm going to propose to these ladies. You've determined, yes, I want to definitely jump in and participate in this industry. How did you determine your lane?
So for me, it was really about figuring out where my skill set matched holes that were already in the industry. Because a lot of people that come up to me, they say, oh, I want to be in the cannabis space, I'm going to grow cannabis. Yeah. And it's like, well, have you ever grown anything in your whole life? Can you keep a houseplant alive? This is not the time for you to decide to hop in a completely different space. The cannabis industry is broad and has vast opportunities across the board. If you are a lawyer, come into this space and be an attorney. Come be a graphic designer. Come be a security specialist. Come be a social media manager. Bring your skill set into the industry. So that, for me, is the key, is figuring out where that lies. Mm-hmm. And for me, I came from the entertainment industry. I was in the entertainment industry for 15 years. I developed reality TV shows and branded programming. So I knew branding, I knew demographics, and I knew lifestyle very well. And for me, I was like, I think there's a hole here in the industry. I think that I know this demographic and what they want, and that's how I was able to put that together. And it's also about making sure that you have the right audience in mind. We're no longer in a place and time where you can say, it's cannabis, everybody wants it, yay. You need to be specific. For Apothecarry, our demographic is medical users, urban professionals, and women who are 30 to 60 who make $75,000 a year or more. That's a narrow stretch of people. But I know that that's who my audience is. I can speak to them directly, and I can make sure that my advertising isn't broad, it's narrow.
For me, so I'm on the plant touching side of the business. I have a retail license, and you know, this question has kind of become the bane of my existence. How do I start a dispensary? And it's definitely not, you know, as simple as just, you know, it's not like opening up a clothing store on the corner. There's a lot of red tape around it. It's very hard to navigate. But how I got my way in and how I decided that this is what I wanted to do. My background is in finance and economics, so I had always been interested in emerging markets and quickly growing industries, and I realized back in 2014, the year I graduated from school, that this industry is going to be one of the biggest industries that I'm going to see in my lifetime, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I had already, you know, I liked cannabis from a recreational point of view. I'm not even going to say adult use because I really wasn't an adult. From a recreational side, I mean, I always had interest in it. I love economics, I love business, and I like complicated business, so I just saw the writing on the wall, like this industry is perfect for me, and it's new. So I have a unique opportunity as a young person that doesn't have the experience of a CEO that's been working for 50 years. I have a unique opportunity to actually get involved. At that time, I was not living in my home state of Maryland, but that's where I'm from. I realized Maryland was about to, they had just passed a bill legalizing cannabis, and they were about to open up the application process. I went to the best entrepreneur I knew, my mother, and we decided to put together a group to apply. I don't think we really knew exactly what was going to come of it. And now I've kind of carved this lane out to be able to inspire millennials, women of color, people who have been disenfranchised to get involved in this quickly growing industry. There's so much opportunity, and that's kind of my lane in. But like you said, I always tell people, find whatever you're good at currently, whatever you're doing now, there's a place for that in this industry. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's very sophisticated and has a lot of corporate structure to it. I think people forget that because of, you know, the stigma that surrounds the industry. You think that it's just like a stoner vibe. It's actually the complete opposite. It's, like I said, it's very sophisticated business. Whatever you're doing in your current job can be transferred into this industry.
So how did I determine my lane? My background is in branding and marketing. I've been a graphic designer since 1999. So actually my first graphic design job was at Cannabis. I was a copy girl and worked my way up to a manager. But I also served the military in the Coast Guard. So I had some leadership training and all that in there. I did like ROTC and stuff like that, high school. So I've always kind of had these leadership roles, but my background is in branding and marketing, so I like to create brands, I like design stuff, and I'm a tinkerer, I like to make things, R&D, that kind of stuff. So when I used to make my own edibles and all these things, so I was my friends, and I would put labels on them sometimes. People want to know how much they can eat on it. It's strong. You should piece of this banana right here. And so as I was actually diagnosed with lupus and Lyme disease, and I moved to California to have access to medical cannabis in October of 2013. And when I moved there, I worked for a friend who had a medical company, and I was his marketing, branding, and salesperson. And I learned a lot going through that experience, and I was able to apply my background directly to his cannabis business and to help him grow and grow his brand. So from there, I learned quite a bit on manufacturing, distribution, all those types of things. And then I quickly realized that, okay, I really like doing this. I would love to have my own edibles company, but that's kind of limiting. It's limiting. Like I want more of the chain. So I took a job as the chief operations, actually the chief marketing officer for Magnolia Wellness with Debbie Goldsberry, and November of 2015, right around the time Sunshine Mitchell and I co-founded Supernova Women. And I started to learn a lot of the retail side of things. And then I started thinking, okay, well, now that I understand this manufacturing and distribution side of things and products and how to make them and how to brand them, now I want to understand more about the customer that's coming in. And at the retail side, how do I build this side? How can I push these branded products that I want through these retail outlets? And so I gained a lot of experience on dispensary operations. Magnolia Wellness was one of the 8 licensed dispensaries in the state of California at the time. They were licensed locally, but there was no state licensing structure at that time. And so I learned a bit about paying taxes, running a multi-million-dollar business basically. And from there, I left Magnolia and started my own distribution and manufacturing company of several products. And we made infused popcorn, we made ice cream, we made all kinds of products, just kind of putting them out there, learning the pros and cons of certain kinds of products on the market. We started making pre-rolls, and then we kind of found our niche, and we make infused pre-rolls. And so basically, now what I'm doing is, okay, I have this manufacturing and distribution company, and we can make these branded products, but I need guaranteed retail outlets for these products. And I have a retail background, so it's like, okay, well, now let's go out and get these limited retail licenses so that we can guarantee shelf space for our own products. And so now I've got 2 applications in San Francisco, 2 retail dispensaries, hoping to add 2 more in the next few months. And also got a non-storefront retailer license, which is a delivery license in Oakland. And I view that as another opportunity to push more branded products. It's a subscription box service called Shitty Pines Box Club. And basically that's just another avenue to create more brands, to have more shelf space to push more brands. So I'm really doing all this to create something like a vertically integrated operation where I'm manufacturing the products, we're making the brands, we're distributing them all throughout our own networks, but then of course to the other retail outlets as well. So just a place to push brands is what all this is for me, and that's how I was able to kind of determine my lane. I'm a brander, I like to make brands, so that's what we got to do.
I love that. Just to piggyback off of the ladies, I did the same thing. I transferred my skill set as a journalist. I worked for a number of years as an editor at a national media publication called Black Enterprise. There I began to see the industry take shape, and as an enthusiast, which I have been for a long time, I took a serious interest in the business side of things. And so my 2 co-founders, Stefan Floyd and Sarita Wright, and I were all working there. We just decided to start covering it at Black Enterprise. And we saw a huge backlash, actually, when we posted an article on social media. Just people were very misinformed, and that's where we saw the opportunity to educate people about what was really happening and to allow a space for people to actually feel safe, women in particular, to feel safe about sharing their use and just knowing how, when, the whole gamut, just about the plant. And so that's kind of how we formed EstroHaze, and we quit our jobs, ended up getting into a business accelerator called Canopy Boulder, moved to Colorado for 4 months, and our lives haven't been the same since. So it really was very fast the way it happened, but best decision I ever made. So you clear on what you want to do. Now we're going to talk about starting. Step 2, start. What's the first step that you took once you figured out your lane? What's the very first thing? I know a lot of people say, buy a domain, get a website, just those kind of basic things. But what was the serious first step that you took? Whitney, as an ancillary product business, and Hope and Amber in obtaining your licenses. What was those first steps that you took?
For me, it was research.
Okay.
Research. People love to buy a domain. They love to have a logo for a company that does nothing and sells nothing. Make sure that you do your research and know your space. My job is to know every other storage company out there. What are they doing? What is their price point? Who are they pointing their company at? Who's left out? What is the value proposition there? Because to be honest, I have a bachelor's degree in theater and a master's degree in film production. Nowhere in there do you hear business or supply chain management. So I needed to find the end of the internet as I'm Googling some of these issues that I was falling into. I needed to understand the design phase. I had an idea in my head that I had to get down on paper. I had to figure out how to work with a designer, someone who could do CAD drawings. I needed to figure out how to run manufacturing and find people who were going to do samples for me and secure up that supply chain, because what's important on the product side is that you can get to that MVP. I can get to that minimum, viable product to say that this is something that people are interested in purchasing, that I have, made it and I can make it again, and that I can get the price that I say that I can get for it. And so for me, it was, how do I get to that, to that product? Basically, I really, my goal initially was that I was going to do a Indiegogo campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, and I was going to get people to donate and buy this case ahead of time, and then I was going to use that money to manufacture, and this was all going to be golden and lovely. But I forgot that I was working in the cannabis space, and so about 2 weeks into my Indiegogo campaign, we got pulled down for being paraphernalia, and they returned all the money to all the people who had supported us. And meanwhile, I had taken every penny that I had and put it behind this campaign. I had done ads, and I had done videos, and I had done, everything. So when this got pulled down, I was under the bed. I was like, I don't even know what to do. They're killing my dreams, people. I'm like, you can't, I'm sending them tearful emails. They did not really feel my pain. And so I did what any, entrepreneur does at that point in time. You give yourself 24 hours to mourn, and then you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you keep moving. So I decided that I was going to take every penny I had left. And I'm serious about this. I was at this point, I was a single mother. I had a 4-year-old. I sold my house. And I took, the money that I had left, the money that I'd gotten from friends and family around, and I bought 100 cases. That's what I could afford. I was like, I don't have any more money for advertising. I don't have money for anything else. I'm going to buy these 100 cases and put them on my website and see what happens. And we sold out of those 100 cases in 6 weeks with no advertising. And that was what it took for me to be able to go then to that next level and say, look, I got these people to buy this case. This is something that they want. They will pay the price point that I said that, that they would, and now I have something real. So that is how I went from an idea in my head to something that I could point to that became investable.
Awesome, great. I think from an application now we're going into licenses. And it's good to hear from us, because we were talking about it earlier. We come from kind of two different spectrums. California, the West Coast, East Coast markets look completely different. And East Coast is pretty much every East Coast market right now is extremely competitive. There are limited licensing situations, very, very high barriers to entry. So back in 2014, like I said, I had just graduated from college. I was working in investment banking, and I realized that my home state of Maryland was about to legalize. I went to my mother, like I said, I had put together a little mini business plan. But, when I say my mother and I were green, we didn't know anything about cannabis. My mother literally, hadn't used it since maybe she was 16. And me, I understood it from an adult standpoint, but not from a medical standpoint at all. We had no background or history at all. So first thing we did to research. We tried to learn as much as possible. But as you all might know, it's much better now than it was in 2014 and 2013, but there's hardly any, there's no direction, especially in states like Maryland and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, these new states, New York that are coming out. There's no guide on how to get through that type of application process. It's actually very similar to applying for a government grant. It's that level of technical writing skills that you have to have. You have to have subject matter experts. You really have to go above and beyond to win these licenses in these competitive states. In Maryland, they licensed originally 15 growers, 15 cultivators. They said it was going to be an unlimited number of processors, but they ended up licensing 15 processors and 102 dispensaries based off of senatorial districts. So there were 2 dispensaries per district. We were, like I said, fortunate enough to win a dispensary license. But when we were going through that process, I mean, we spent, so that was the next thing. We did our research. We realized, okay, we're going to have to hire some consultants. We don't know what we're doing. And we had applied for a grow, processing, and dispensary license back in 2015. So we realized we needed a consultant. We started reaching out to consultants. $100,000, $200,000, $150,000. But we were very weary about, we really didn't know the industry that well, so we were weary about just giving that money out to just anybody. Did our research, found someone that we felt like we could trust. We paid them about $90,000. It ended up being a connector, really. She connected us to a lot of other people. Hindsight, I think we overpaid, but it was necessary for us to get to the point that we were at. We put together a team that had expertise in all the specific areas that the state had put out. So we really studied the application and the regulations in our state so we could understand what exactly they were looking for. We did our best to connect with legislators who were involved with the process so that we could understand the way that they were thinking and what the state wanted. And then we just tried to put together a package to reflect that. We ended up spending upwards of $250,000 pre-application, so that money was all at-risk capital, and it could have went poof, and we never saw it again. We did our best to raise money pre-application to go through that process, but were unsuccessful. With good reason. I understand we had no background in the industry. I was, 23, 22. I understand why not. So we bootstrapped the entire process. We won the license, and then after, is that step 2? Is that step 3?
You can go ahead.
Too far?
Please.
Okay, but after we won the license, again, I'm thinking, we have a license now. People are just going to throw money at me. No, they didn't. So we had to continue to bootstrap the entire process. I mean, we were in artwork. We are in upwards of, close to $2 million that we had to bootstrap the entire process ourselves. Granted, it's a very, very profitable business. We will, become profitable within the next 2 years or so. But those are the type of costs that you have to endure in a limited license situation. Because you're competing with multi-state operators that have millions of dollars behind them that they can afford to just throw at things and lose. And they do, because they understand, the growth rate in this industry is like upwards of 25%. It's unheard of. So people will pay extreme premiums to be a part of this industry. And as a mom and pop level, you have to be realistic with yourself. Like, how are you going to compete with that? If you're trying to apply in New Jersey and the last round they just gave out 6 licenses, 6. How do you compete with, companies that have $200 million behind them and you are just trying to be a startup? You kind of have to find your foot in, and maybe it's not running your own dispensary or running your own license, or maybe it's moving to another state where it's a little bit easier getting your foot in the door once you have established brands, then taking that back into those limited licensing states. You just kind of have to figure it out. Every day I say that I'm blessed because God put me here, because we didn't really know what we were doing back then. With my mother's healthcare background as a dentist, and our other partner is an oral surgeon, I think that played a lot into getting the dispensary license for us. But it's just the game has shifted completely from how it was in 2014 to now. It's a much more sophisticated, and people are spending a lot of money to play.
So what's the first step I took in carving out my lane, essentially? The recurring theme here seems to be research and due diligence, and my before starting each of these projects, do I have the right team and resources to pull this off? If I don't, and I get it together. And so, with my experience in the animals company, it just made sense to work. My experience of working for the animals company and my passion for edibles and branding. Of course, I wanted to start my own, but I knew that I was very weak in finances. Not necessarily. I definitely have a very good comprehension of finances, but I certainly don't want to be the one sitting there building out models in Excel and building the financials and doing all that. And I know that
I do that all day.
that is not my creative side. So I got a business partner who's an MBA. He's a Wall Street financial analyst, and he's also our CFO. And so I'm like, okay, gotta add a financial person to the team. And I also, before I worked at Magnolia with Sunshine, actually, we worked at a consulting firm. And this licensing process that Hope is talking about, Sunshine and I participated in writing 22 applications for the Maryland that we actually won, our consulting firm won. So I have a lot of experience in writing applications. So I knew that, at least on the retail side of things, applying for these licenses as I'm doing right now in San Francisco, that I can handle that, but we definitely had to add more to our team because when you're applying for a dispensary license in limited markets, there's much more than just the application. There is a community and a government relations piece that plays into it, and you've got to be quite engaged with the community, or else they'll come out against your project and you won't be successful. So we had to engage with the community and add more folks to our team. So I've got a real estate team that's part of my team, and they kind of go out and help us hunt down real estate. Those people happen to live in areas that our dispensaries are in, so they actually live in the neighborhoods. And we also need a government relations piece. My work with Supernova allows me to engage quite a bit civically with our local and state regulators. However, I've only been doing this for 5 years now, and I needed someone much more experienced than me, who's just got community relations background, working with unions and things like that. So we added a lobbyist to our team, and he's got a background of working with unions, working with the state, working with the governor, working with the cities, and so it was really very important that I made sure that we did the research, but then also built a team that's going to be able to pull all these things off.
Awesome. All right. So you guys got step 1, which is getting clear. Step 2, which is starting, and that includes building a team. It means doing the research and due diligence. Now, let's talk about getting money. All right. So that's a big thing, right? Hope spoke a lot to that. Just before she even got the license, how she $250,000 just kind of set on fire, right? So let's talk a little bit about that.
Luckily, but yeah, I was about to light the match. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what type and amount of funding, is necessary to get your business up and operational. How did you obtain it, and how do you sustain it?
We're going to get real now, huh? It's gotten real on question number 3. So I think in having this conversation, it's important to remember the issues that come with fundraising in this space. I cannot go to Bank of America and say, I would like a small business loan to open my cannabis grow. They do not invest. They will not let you take a loan out in a business that is cannabis facing that way. And even on my side, when actually I don't touch the plant. I make a box made of wood and fabric with a lock on it. You can keep Cheerios in there. I don't care. So, you know, I thought that I'd be able to get over these things. I was not. So it's important, you know, to keep that in mind, which kind of means that you either need to be independently wealthy, or you're going to need to get money from investors, angel investors, or you're going to need VC money. And that's difficult in and of itself. But I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm also a female. That's a thing. And so when you start digging down into the space, the numbers say that women overall are getting about 2% of VC money that's coming out. 2%. Which is abysmal numbers. But I'm also been black my whole life. It's been a thing. And women of color, in particular black women, Project Diane did a study and they said that 0.0006% of VC money is going to women of color. So when it came to fundraising time, let me tell you, you know, I rocked back and forth for a long time wondering, how do I make this work? Those numbers are scary, and I think that, you know, it says something bigger for the industry at large, because initially the numbers were huge for female CEOs in this space. They're talking almost 40%, you know, of, you know, businesses had women CEOs at the lead. And as more money is coming into this space, that number is doing a nosedive. Right now, I think we're around 27%. You know, and it shows that the institutional money coming in is really changing what's happening there, because, you know, who are they giving the money to? And I'm not saying, you know, that there's a lot of reasons for that. It becomes network. Who do you know? You have to know people with money in order to get that money. If my network is people who don't have a lot of money to invest in me, then I'm going to have, you know, a harder time at that. Also, it's a truism that people tend to invest in people that look like them and think like them and remind them of themselves. So if the general person who's investing in this space is a 55-year-old white man, they usually don't think of themselves as a cute, cuddly black woman. Not a thing. My job is to work a little bit harder than that. I need to get them to understand, you know, the value that I'm going to bring. I want them to see that I have the same drive that they do have. And that that they're not doing me a favor. I'm not asking for charity. I'm giving you an opportunity to invest in a business that's going to make you millions of dollars. And I already believe that because I sold my house and invested all my money in it as well. I'm asking you to stand side by side with me. And it's being able to come at it with that sort of attitude that I think that makes the difference there. You know, for me, I'm on the ancillary side. Inherently, ancillary businesses were cheaper lifting. I didn't have to come up with $250,000, you know, just to shoot at a license, because on the ancillary side, generally, we don't need licenses. I don't need a license to sell a box, you know, which is nice. I did have a lot of startup costs. I did a friends and family round initially for my company. I raised about $30,000. I put in about $100,000 of my own. That got me through my MVP. And then I was able to raise after that $250,000. And that got us to the point that we're at right now, where we can, you know, we're ready to grow and scale. But I'm out there raising again. I needed to raise $1 million. And those things become really scary. There's only been 38 black women ever who have raised over $1 million as CEOs. That's a scary number to me, but that doesn't stop me from doing it. Yes. It just makes me, you know, a little bit more hungry for it, and know that I need to come with all my, you know.
Well, and you know the reality of things, right? So now you know how to move and how you need to be creative in fundraising.
Absolutely, and that I need to come with all my information intact. You know, I do need to make sure that all my, you know, T's are crossed and my I's are dotted, and that's how I come to it.
Yeah, that's Whitney. I mean, you took it away. That's exactly how I feel. I'm in the process now of raising money for my company. We've completely bootstrapped it to this point, and we've been able. Yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate to have done that. That being said, I mean, it was extremely difficult, and we're now at the point where we're ready to grow and scale our business and to be able to compete with some of the multi-state operators that we are our direct competition. I experience all the same things as a black woman trying to fundraise in this industry. It's very difficult. I've been fortunate enough, and I think because of my background in investment banking, to sit in front of some very, very powerful people in this industry. But it's funny, whenever those offers come, they never are they're always something like, okay, I'll give you what you want for 75%. And I'm like, wow, the audacity, that's something you would never say to someone else. Like, wow, you really just sat here, listened to my pitch, kiki it up, we laughing and joking, and then now you're going to say that to me? How disrespectful. That's how I feel. That being said, I think that there's a lot of value. We always want to do something big and grand and huge. There's value in starting small and building, which is what my company has done. We won this license. We bootstrapped it. We did the very best we could. And no, we couldn't run huge marketing campaigns. No, we couldn't. Our build out isn't a $2 million build out with, glass dropping the cannabis down in your, it's not some crazy amazing space. However, it's a space that we created in a community of people that look like us, that they can feel safe and comfortable. That being said, our revenue grows every month, and we're able to afford new things and do new things. So a lot of it is starting small and understanding you will scale, you will grow, and doing it yourself. And not waiting for investor money. It will come, there will come a time, my company already, I've gotten offers to purchase it upwards of $10 million, which is very enticing. I'm nowhere near ready to do that.
$1 billion industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's enticing, it's very enticing because, like I said, we started from nothing. And much like Whitney gave up, my family, we put so much time, money, and effort into it. My mother came into this full force. This is our life. It's our livelihood. It's my whole life. This is all I do now. So, it's a difficult thing to manage when you're getting offers like that thrown at you. But that let me know, hey, we built something from scratch and now it's worth $10 million. What is it going to be worth when I get another license and another license? There are deals right now. One of the biggest deals that just happened, two companies that are in Maryland just merged together. And that was an $850 million deal, and they don't have that many licenses. They have a lot in a lot of states, but it's not that many. You would think they had 100 licenses for that amount of money. No. They had about 10 in different states, and it's about who you know, all of those things. But I think that as entrepreneurs that don't have those resources, don't have those connections, you have to be able to start small and have the larger vision in mind and have a plan to reach it. Institutional money will come once you build your company up enough where you can't be ignored. That's how I feel.
All right, so getting money.
Good money.
Let's see. So this has been a really interesting journey for me. I helped Magnolia raise money, so that was kind of my first kind of foray into raising money and what that's like, and talking to these investors, what that can be like. At the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, I went and started products, and I raised, with my business partner, we raised $250,000 for manufacturing and distribution, and that was successful. So that was our seed round. And we're currently in our Series A round, and we're raising $750,000. And with my dispensary project, Bay Area Retail Management, we're in our seed round right now. So we're pre-CUP, which is conditional use permit. So we're prior to the licensing. So this is the hardest phase of raising money. You don't have a license, and you're basically raising money on hopes and dreams. We're raising $650,000 right now, and it's a big nut just because we're going after so many dispensaries. Right now we've got 2 on the map, and I want to add 2 more. And the costs that are incurred there is, I had to pay for an attorney. That was $10,000 and retainer. Right? And that's not. He's going to end up costing us about $40,000, but his retainer was $10,000. I had a little bit of equity, so
Yeah.
we had to engage with an architect because we need renderings to show people what this project is going to look like. That's another $10,000. And then, of course, we have the leases of the spaces, which is the biggest piece of the budget. And, so you've got your first month's deposit, you've got your last month's deposit, or your first month's rent, your last month's rent, which is your deposit, which could be, depends on what your lease is, but, it could be anywhere around $50,000, $60,000. And then, of course, you've got rent on a space that you're not generating any revenue on. This process can last anywhere from 1 year to 2 years. And then you're not budget. So you got to get really savvy. What we did was to mitigate some of those costs, at least for the lease, we found a subtenant. And we're leasing out the spaces. So that was very fortunate. Like I mentioned, raising $650,000 right now on our seed round, and then once we get these licenses, it'll be anywhere between $2 to $4 million. Depends on how many dispensaries we end up with. If we end up with 2, it's basically $1 million per dispensary. So, can't forget about my other project, Shady Pines, my subscription box service. I'm in my seed round there. And that's $150K. That's not too crazy. And I already have a state license there, a state temporary license. So that's pretty awesome. So that has been a bit easier for folks because I do already have a license there. And Supernova, of course, we're raising money. Yeah, we got stuff to do.
Yes. So, they have full-time jobs fundraising. That's pretty much what they do.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say we got an initial investment from our accelerator. Currently, we're bootstrapping right now because we don't want to take on any more investors at the moment. But it's just really important for us at EstroHaze to show that, like you said, we're undeniable. There's a market here for this type of information. It's necessary, it fills a void. And so that's kind of where we are with that. We don't really want to bring anybody in that process currently. So step 4, bob and weave. You gotta consistently bob and weave in this industry as an entrepreneur in general. But can you each speak to some of the unexpected challenges that you've, had to endure kind of navigating this space? And being entrepreneurs and just living a life,
My life is unexpected challenges. Every last one of them. Let's see. A couple that stick out for me in a very broad, general sense. It's fantastic to be like, I want to start a business. I'm in the cannabis space. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to quit my job. But unfortunately, when I sent that letter to the mortgage company talking about, I got a dream, they still want their payment on the 1st of the month. I cannot live without being able to pay those daily expenses. And that's why, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I had to realize is being able to bide my time with the things that I had to do for my company and the things that I had to do to keep lights on, because lights are important and I appreciate them. So, for me, I teach, the college level. I'm a professor.
Right.
I can pick up a class or 2 that's only going to take, 3 or 6 hours of my week and allow me to be able to focus on this business, on the rest of it, but still be able to pay those real bills. Because everyone doesn't have someone who's, can take, I wish I did. But, so being able to find that balance there. In my particular lane, customs issues has been something that I did not expect. At the end of the day, I sell a case that, we believe is a safety concern. If you have a kid at home, you have a dog at home, you might want to make sure you're locking up your cannabis in a case. However, cannabis is still federally illegal. And sometimes these items are considered to be paraphernalia and therefore can't be imported and can be seized. And there's been several seizures in my space, in particular, companies that are very similar to mine who've had, $25,000, $30,000 worth of product seized, and you're not going to get that back. And that's personal. That, losing $30,000 worth of product can sink you. And so that's hard. I also, I'm initially a small business. I have 6 attorneys, 6. I'm like, well, it's absolutely insane, but I need someone who's going to deal with, those legal issues, who's going to help me on my rates, who's going to do my trademark, work, who's going to help me on my contracts, who's going to, across the board. So I didn't expect as much legal entanglement. I'm like, my lawyers are my best friends. Yeah. Like, at this point in time, I need them to be, so they give me better rates. And then finally, for me, work-life balance has been a challenge. I do have a child. I do want him to remember, what my face looks like. But when you're an entrepreneur, and you're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've sent emails on Christmas Day. When I first started this company, I was working, packaging these products myself in my own garage. I looked around one day, I'm like, I built myself a sweatshop. I quit a senior vice president position, and I work in the garage, and I am sweating bullets. I've made bad choices in my life. And so being able to separate, the work from, your life and being able to find some peace. For me, it's, between 7 and 9, when I have my kid at home, I'm not going to email. And it's hard, it is an addiction, but I'm not going to email. I'm going to focus on that child, because at the end of the day, that's my reason why. That's why I'm doing that work. That's why I care so much. That's why generational wealth becomes important to me, so not only I'm okay, he becomes, better in the future.